racing, a split second can make the difference between victory and defeat. And if you want to edge out your opponent and drive the best lap time possible, you need the right equipment. Hitting the apex of a turn perfectly requires precision. And if you don't want to go off track, you want to feel the car and track conditions as much as possible.
We're adjusting the strategy.
All of this is hard to achieve with a gamepad. If you want to get into real sim racing, you will need a racing wheel as well as pedals. So today we're going to take a look at one of the best-selling racing wheels in the recent years, offering a lot of features to a beginner-friendly price. The Logitech G29 is one of the most popular sets for virtual racing rookies. First, we're going to have a look at the wheel's design and its setup. Afterwards, we will talk about the controls and how the wheel and the pedals feel on track. And in the end, we will have a conclusion for which players the G29 is the best choice. Hello guys, my name is Dave, I am 25 years old and I started playing sim racing games when I was a little child. Back then I had a PlayStation 1 with F1 and Gran Turismo, and nowadays I upgraded a few times, and today I want to show you one of my rigs. Alright guys, so let's have a first look at the hardware. Although the G29 doesn't look exactly like a modern race wheel, its combination of real leather and steel elements provide a racing-like feeling. The leather cover provides good grip and really separates the G29 from other lower-cost plastic wheels. The buttons and their color scheme fit well into the overall design. The pedals have been kept quite simple. While the clutch, brake and accelerator are made of steel, they are covered with plastic on the surface. This makes the pedals look a bit cheaper than they actually feel, but we will get to this point soon. In general, all of this feels like upper-class hardware. The wheel weighs about 2.25 kg and the pedals weigh about 3 kg, which makes everything feel very resilient, even when we are pulling off some rough moves. The G29 comes with two brackets to fix the wheel to any kind of surface, and they seem to work quite well. However, you could get some problems if your tabletop is too big or you're using a glass table. On the bottom you will also find inserts to fix the wheel to your racing rig. There is also some rubber on the bottom of the pedals to prevent them from moving. But we found out that this does not work at all. Even on rough surfaces the pedals will slip backwards. To keep them in place, we suggest placing them in front of any kind of heavy object. There are some cables that need to be connected, but you don't have to be afraid of chaotic wiring. On the underside of the wheel, we can find cable routes that allow us to manage our cables pretty well, so they won't be in our way when we start the engines. The wheel is easily connected to our PC via USB. Before we can start playing, however, we first need to install the Logitech Gaming software. With the software, we can download presets for many different games or adjust the wheel. The customization options are very detailed. For example, if you're not a fan of pedals, you can use the pedal shifters at the back as throttle and brake. You can set up the wheel exactly according to your needs. Now, having connected the wheel to our rig, let's get to racing. As we drove our first laps, there was something coming immediately to our attention. The wheel is very loud. You can hear it work in every turn and on every bump. The noise comes from two force feedback motors built into the wheel. You can hear them work as much as you can feel them. Force feedback is a mechanical response of the wheel to the events in the game, mostly in form of vibrations or yanking of the wheel. And trust me, this wheel has some intense force feedback. You can really feel every bump and curb, as well as when to countersteer to get the car back on the track. And after a few laps, you already start to get a little bit sweaty because of the force you need to apply to the wheel. It will take you some time to adjust the feedback to your needs, but we can make things work with the Logitech Gaming software, as well as some in-game adjustments. However, from time to time, the force feedback does not feel very smooth and is a little bit stuttering. And the reason for that is that the force feedback motor relies on a gear-driven technology, which means that there is a hard mechanical process going on within the wheel. And you can definitely feel it while you're playing. And a belt-driven force feedback motor would definitely make the set a little bit smoother, but we are still in a low price segment, so the G29 does a pretty good job here anyway. Aside from some occasional stuttering, driving with the G29 feels very smooth. The hand-stitched leather on the wheel provides a tight grip. A Hall effect sensor transfers our movement very precisely to the game. We can adjust the steering sensitivity as well, with a maximum steering range of 900 degrees. The brushed steel pedal shifters on the backside feel very handy and contribute to the overall high-class feeling. In addition to a D-pad and 4 buttons mimicking the surface of a PlayStation controller, we can find some more customization options on the wheel. With a small wheel, we can change our motor settings in F1, for example. Small LED lights at the top indicate when to shift and round out our racing experience. All the buttons are easy to access and offer us plenty of advantages during a race. Unfortunately, the package does not include a shifter, so we're limited to the pedal shifters for now, but you can buy an additional shifter from Logitech, which will cost you another €60. That is, however, not really expensive in comparison to the other shifters on the market. In addition to that, Logitech lets you decide if you need the shifter or if you don't. So instead of raising the price for the whole bundle, they instead let you decide if you want to have a shifter or if you don't. So that's a very cool move from Logitech. Logitech did a pretty good job with the pedals on this set. The clutch and the accelerator feel very natural, with the accelerator being a little bit lighter than the clutch. But as we started racing, I really had to get used to the brakes in the beginning. Logitech is trying to mimic a real car brake. It gets harder to push the pedal the further you go. To imitate this behavior, Logitech built a strong spring and a rubber cube into the brake pedal. Because of that, the pedal does feel a bit clunky from time to time, and sometimes you will need a lot of pressure to brake. Make sure to place your pedals in front of a heavy object or use any other means to prevent them from sliding away. Otherwise, you might be in for a nasty surprise during your races. We needed some time to get familiar with the behavior of the brakes, but we continuously increased our lap times and we got familiar with the brakes. And although it doesn't feel like a real brake 100%, Logitech did a solid job here. Another note, Logitech uses potentiometers to measure the pedal's movements. That means that you will brake harder the further you push the pedal. This technique, however, is not as accurate as a load cell technique, which is used in higher class pedals. Here, the pedals don't measure the way they've traveled, but the force being applied, and thus can create a more realistic feeling. Still, the pedals on the G29 translate our inputs quite precisely, and although the potentiometers are not the most reliable technology, Logitech managed to integrate a fine measurement of pedal travel. Although it has already been released in 2015, the G29 is still a very popular sim racing wheel, but is it worth its price? We spent quite some time with this wheel and we had a lot of fun with it. And although it has some weaknesses, the brake pedal as well as the force feedback, the flaws are not too big, so we definitely had a lot of fun with it and it didn't break our racing experience. Overall, driving with the wheel felt realistic after adjusting it to our needs, and we were able to drive some great hot laps. The handling is good, customization options are very broad. The G29 is compatible with PlayStation 4 and PC. Xbox One users should look out for the G920, which is almost identical to the G29, but is missing some features such as a few buttons or the LED lights. Logitech offers the wheel for €399, but a lot of stores sell it for around about €200 already. At this price, the G29 is perfect for beginners and can be a long-term investment for your sim racing future. It's a great starter bundle, and if you feel really comfortable with the G29, you can use this set for several years. Throughout different games, there are many top-tier players who are still playing with this exact set. So guys, that was it for this week. In our next episode, we will have a look at the best racing wheels money can buy, and see you guys again next time. Bye.